Let me ask you something. The last time someone hurt you, what did you do? Did you react? Did you argue? Did you go quiet but spend 3 days replaying it in your head, building the perfect response you never gave? Did you lose sleep? Did you lose focus? Did you let one moment from one person steal hours, days, maybe weeks of your life? Because if you did, you're not alone, but you are weak. And I say that not to insult you. I say it because it's the truth. And the truth is the only thing worth saying. Emotion is the oldest weapon ever used against men. Before guns, before money, before politics, before any of it. The moment someone learned they could provoke a reaction, they found the most powerful lever in the world. Pull it, and a man destroys himself. You don't even have to fight him. You just have to make him feel something at the wrong moment. I am Thomas Shelby, and tonight I'm going to teach you something that took me years of war, loss, and blood to understand. Stay with me, because this lesson cuts deep. I want you to understand something first. I am not telling you to become empty. I am not telling you that grief is weakness, or that love is foolish, or that the men who feel things are lesser men. That's not what this is. What I'm telling you is this: there is a time and a place for everything, and the battlefield is not the place for feeling. The negotiating table is not the place for feeling. The moment when your enemy is watching your face for information, that is not the place for feeling. Emotion has its room, it has its hour, but that room has a door, and you need to learn how to close it. Because right now for most men, and that door is always open. Someone disrespects them, the door swings wide. They get bad news, the door swings wide. They lose a deal, a girl, a friend, and everything pours out of them, right there, in front of everyone who's watching. And the ones watching, they're taking notes. When I came back from France, I was not the same man who left. Nobody who was there came back the same. We had seen things that don't leave you, sounds that don't stop, faces that don't fade. And the men who tried to carry all of that feeling openly, visibly, they broke. They drank themselves into nothing. They raged at their families. They collapsed under the weight of what they couldn't put down. I made a different choice. I didn't put it down. I closed the door on it. I said, and this is mine. It lives inside me, but it will not govern me. I will govern it. And from that decision forward, everything changed. Not because I stopped feeling, but because I stopped letting the feeling show up uninvited. That is the first law of Shelby Stoicism. Emotion is yours. The world doesn't get access to it unless you grant it. Now let me tell you what emotional detachment actually looks like in practice, because most men misunderstand it. They think detachment means not caring. They think the cold man is the man who has decided nothing matters. That's not detachment, that's defeat. That's a man who gave up and dressed it up as strength. Real detachment is not the absence of investment, it's the separation of outcome from identity. Let me explain. When a weak man puts something on the table, his pride goes with it, his sense of himself goes with it. So when it doesn't go his way, it's not just the deal that fell apart, it's him. He takes it personally because he made it personal before it ever began. And that makes him predictable. It makes him desperate. It makes him easy to manipulate, because all you have to do is threaten the thing he's attached to, and he'll make irrational decisions trying to protect it. I've used that against more men than I can count. I put something on the table and I leave myself out of it. The deal is the deal. It goes well or it doesn't. But Tommy Shelby is the same man either way. My value doesn't rise or fall with the outcome of one room, one conversation, one night. That separation, That distance between what I'm doing and who I am, that's what keeps me clear. Because a clear mind sees things an emotional mind misses. It sees the actual situation instead of the inflated version that fear and pride create. It sees options. It sees exits. It sees the other man's weakness because it's not busy defending its own. You cannot think straight when you're emotional. That's not philosophy. That's biology. The part of your brain that handles fear and anger physically shuts down the part that handles reasoning. You become less intelligent the moment you lose control of your reaction. And your enemies, if they're smart, they know this. They provoke you on purpose. They want you reactive because a reactive man is a manageable man. Don't be manageable. Here is something nobody tells you about being the coldest man in the room. It is deeply uncomfortable for everyone else. Not for you, for them. When a man reacts, and when he gets angry or defensive or emotional, and it gives the people around him something to respond to. It keeps the energy moving. It creates noise, and noise is comfortable because it's familiar. People know what to do with noise. But silence, control, a man who looks at you calmly after you've just said something designed to wound him, and simply tilts his head and says nothing. That unnerves people in a way they cannot explain. I've sat in rooms where men came in ready for a fight. They'd prepared their arguments. They'd worked themselves up on the way over. They had fire in them, ready to burn. And I gave them nothing to burn. I offered no reaction, no fuel, nothing to push against. And within minutes, I watched them deflate. Then I watched them get confused. Then I watched them start to doubt themselves, wondering if they'd misjudged the situation, wondering if maybe they were the problem. I hadn't said a word. That is the power of the controlled face. It doesn't just protect you, it destabilizes them. Because people project when they can't read you. They start filling in the blanks with their own fears. And most people's fears are much worse than anything you could actually threaten them with. Let them project. Let them imagine. Let the silence do the work you don't have to do. Your face is a weapon, but only if it shows nothing. Now I want to talk about something harder, because so far I've been talking about enemies, about negotiation, about rooms where the stakes are visible and the game is obvious. But what about when it's not obvious? What about the slow erosions, the daily accumulations of small provocations from people who are supposed to be on your side? The colleague who undermines you quietly, friend who mocks your ambition with a smile, the family member who calls it concern but means control. Those are the ones that test you differently. Because it's easy, relatively speaking, to stay cold in front of an enemy you can name. You know what that is. You can prepare for it. But the slow drip of people you care about, people whose opinions you've made the mistake of valuing too highly, that's harder. And that's where most men leak. They can face a stranger's insult without flinching. But one comment from their father, one dismissal from someone they respect, and everything comes undone. I know that feeling. I know it better than I'd like. There were men in my life I wanted to prove myself to. Men whose approval I carried like a weight I never asked for. And every time they doubted me, every time they underestimated what I was building, I felt it pull at something. Something old. Something from before the war, before the business, before any of it. And I had to learn, painfully, slowly, to close the door on that too. Not because those men didn't matter, but because their opinion of me was never going to be the accurate one. They saw who I was before I became who I am. And people don't update easily. They hold on to the version of you they first decided on, because it's convenient, because it requires nothing from them. You cannot live inside someone else's old version of you. You have to be willing to disappoint it, to walk past it, to stop feeding it with explanations and justifications and the desperate energy of a man still trying to be understood. Let them hold their version. You hold yours. And there's a question I get in the eyes of men who listen to me. I can see it even when they don't say it. If you feel nothing, what are you building for? Fair question. Here's my answer. I feel everything. I always have. The difference is, I choose when. Grief has its hour, but not in front of the enemy. Love has its room, but not at the negotiating table. Fear has its place in the quiet moments before the move, where it sharpens you, where it makes you check every angle twice, but not in the moment itself, never in the moment. The Stoic is not the man without fire. He's the man who knows where the fire is and who keeps the door closed until the fire is useful. That's the discipline, not extinction, governance. Because here's the truth about men who truly feel nothing. They don't build anything worth keeping. They don't fight for anything worth winning. Emptiness is not power. It's just a different kind of weakness. What you're building toward is the man who feels deeply and shows nothing, who carries the weight and walks without a limp, who knows exactly what's at stake and keeps his hands steady regardless. That man is dangerous, not because he doesn't care, because he cares so much that he will not allow a single moment of emotion to cost him what he's working for. That's who you're becoming. So let me give you the practice, because philosophy without application is just noise. Starting today, and when something triggers you, and something will, you give yourself 10 seconds before you respond. Not to calm down, not to think of the perfect thing to say, just 10 seconds to close the door, to locate the emotion, acknowledge it, and step in front of it before it steps in front of you. 10 seconds. That's all the space you need to shift from reactive to deliberate. In those 10 seconds, ask yourself one question. Will my reaction here serve me or serve them? Because every reaction you give is information, and information given freely is leverage handed over without payment. If the answer is that your reaction serves you, then react deliberately, precisely, with exactly as much force as the situation requires, and not one drop more. Controlled anger is a tool. Uncontrolled anger is a wound. But if the answer is that your reaction serves them, then give them nothing, absolutely nothing. A calm look, a small nod, move on, and let them carry the discomfort of not getting what they came for. Do this consistently, every day, in every room, until it stops being a practice and starts being a reflex, until the door closes automatically, until the men around you start to notice something different about you, something they can't quite name, something that makes them slightly careful around you, slightly uncertain. That uncertainty is respect in its earliest form. Here is your assignment. This week, find one situation where you would normally react, and don't. Let it pass. Feel it fully in private, on your own time, in your own space. But in the moment itself, give nothing away. It doesn't have to be dramatic. It can be small. Someone at work takes credit for your idea. A friend says something dismissive. Someone tests your patience in a way they think is harmless. Whatever it is, close the door. Watch what happens. Watch how the dynamic shifts when you refuse to play your part in the reaction they scripted for you. And then write it down. What you felt, what you didn't show, what changed in the room. Because that record, that quiet evidence of your own control building week by week, that is the foundation of the man you're becoming. Share this with someone who's lost too many battles not to his enemies, but to himself. Because that's the war worth winning. Subscribe, stay with this channel, because the next lesson is already waiting. I'm Thomas Shelby. And now you know how to feel nothing.